Hello everyone, welcome to yet another session of weekly roundup. Myself Nilesh and I will be taking this session. In this session we will cover important development of the last week. So we start today's session. We'll see what will be the news which we will cover in this session. In this session we will cover 5 main news, 1 place in news and 6 quick updates. In main news, first main news is regarding the Tribunal Reform Bill 2026 as it have been passed by the Parliament recently. Then second main news is regarding NASA have invited ISRO to join its moon base program under the Artemis Accords. Then third main news is regarding the National Co-operative Development Corporation Amendment Bill 2026. This bill is also passed by the Parliament recently. Then fourth main news is regarding the Madhya Pradesh to restart excavation of the Vaishya Tekri site in Ujjain. And last main news is regarding the Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Amendment Bill 2026. It is also passed by the Parliament in the recent monsoon session. In the place in news, we will cover Lebanon. So without wasting any time, let's dive into the first main news of the day. The first main news of the day is regarding the Tribunal Reforms Bill 2026 as it has been passed by the Parliament as we already discussed. This topic becomes very important for GS paper 2, that is government policies and statutory bodies. Now we'll see in this news what are the various tribunals, what is the evolution of various tribunals and what is their significance, right? So as we already seen, the development is that the Parliament have passed this bill and Tribunals Reform Bill 2026 actually seeks to replace the Tribunal Reform Act of 2021 with the provisions aligned with the Supreme Court directions in the Madras Bar Association judgment. And what is this Madras Bar Association judgment? So this judgment by the Supreme Court gave the various direction to the central government, and the first direction was that because tribunals are the quasi-judicial bodies, so they should have the independence like the judiciary, right? That was the first thing. And we'll see what are the various provisions which were there in the act, and Supreme Court gave the various directions regarding it, but we'll see all those directions when we'll see the new bill and its provisions. So just wait for it. What is the quasi-judicial body? So quasi-judicial body is a body which is framed by the act or the law, and it have the specific jurisdiction in the specific sector, right? So it have the judicial powers but in the specific sector, and it will have the expert in that field. So it will have the limited power in the specific sector and it will have the various expert in that field so that the jurisdiction can be fastened. So this is the quasi-judicial bodies. And what are the tribunals? So it is the specialized. What are the tribunals? It is the specialized body. Please give the emphasis on the word specialized body, created by law. Created by law. So it have to be created by law, and it will have the particular type of jurisdiction in particular dispute. So particular jurisdiction, right? And such bodies are called as the tribunals, right? I hope it is clear to you. And they have the particular jurisdiction, they have the faster resolution of the cases, and they have the focused area of the jurisdiction. So these are the some of the importance of the tribunals. I hope it is clear to you. Now we'll see various provisions which are there in the bill. But before we go there, we'll see what is the evolution of the tribunal system in India. So tribunal system in India is going back to pre-independence India. In 1941, there was first tribunal, that is Income Tax Appellate Tribunal in 1941, right? So this was the first tribunal which was set up in the pre-independence India. So this is the first thing. Then there was constitution amendment, and through this constitution amendment, which is the constitution amendment, 42nd Constitution Amendment Act inserted new provisions regarding the tribunals. And which were these new provisions? So article 323A and 323B. What is this article 323A and 323B? So article 323A is regarding the public servants, and article 323B is regarding the other tribunals. What are these other tribunals? Like land, taxation, and Supreme Court in its judgment have said this jurisdiction under the 323B is not limited to these some of the cases, but there can be more tribunals under the 323B. So this is the evolution, and this was created under the Swaran Singh committee. So it recommended that there should be the tribunals, and this committee and this constitution amendment was in 1976. Before that, in 1969, first ARC also recommended that there should be civil servant tribunals at center and the state level. So first ARC also recommended that there should be tribunal at the center and the state level, and also Swaran Singh committee recommended that there should be tribunals, and on the basis of Swaran Singh committee report, there was the 42nd Constitution Amendment Act, and there was the provision of the tribunal, right? Then 2017 Finance Act actually reduced the number of tribunals from 26 to 19, right? This is also very important. And then there was this Tribunal Reforms Act of 2021. So this is the various provisions and the evolution of tribunals and their history, as we already discussed. Now we'll see what are the various provisions made in this act and what are the importance and significance of these provisions. So first provision is regarding the National Tribunals Commission, NTC. So the Madras Bar Association, the case was Madras Bar Association versus Union of India, and in that case Supreme Court actually struck down the 2021 act and specific provision because there was lack of accountability and independence of the tribunals, and it suggested that there should be National Tribunal Commission for the superintendence and the various provisions regarding the tribunals. So that is why in this new bill there will be a National Tribunal Commission according to the direction by the Supreme Court, and this will be the statutory body under this act to be established by the central government to conduct selection, review of the tribunal performance and oversee discipline across 16 tribunals. So this is very important. Please remember that National Tribunals Commission. Then what will be the composition of National Tribunal Commission? So it will have the chairperson, and chairperson will be Supreme Court judge or the High Court Chief Justice. So formal Supreme Court judge or the formal High Court Chief Justice will be the chairperson. Then there will be two judicial member, former High Court Chief Justice or the judge, and then there will be two technical members with the 25 plus years domain experience in the particular field of the tribunals, right? So this will be the composition of the National Tribunal Commission. And one of the thing which Supreme Court in the Madras Bar Association judgment said that there is no judicial majority in the procedure. Here you can see the chairperson will be also a judicial member, and there will be two more judicial member. So it will having the judicial majority in the National Tribunal Commission. So this is why it is very important. These two things were directed by the Supreme Court, and those are incorporated in the provisions, right? Then we'll see the appointment and the tenure of the NTC chairman and the member. So the appointment by the central government and with the consultation of the CJI for the appointment of the chairperson or the judicial member, and their term will be for the 5 years till the age of 70. This is also again very important. Previously the term in the 2021 Act was 4 years, and Supreme Court thought that this term is very lesser to have the independence of the tribunal chairman, and that is why this term will be now the 5 years as per the direction of the Supreme Court. Supreme Court had said that there should be minimum of the tenure of the 5 years, and that is why this is also very important. Then we'll see the appointment and the tenure of the tribunal members. So appointment by the central government on the recommendation of the search cum selection committee, and 5 years or the till the age of 70 years for the chairperson, and 5 years and the till the age of 67 years of the member. So this is 67 years, and for the chairperson it will be 70 years, right? Then there will be National Tribunals Data Grid. So development of the centralized digital portal containing the all case related information to track the tribunal performance. So this is also a very important feature of this bill, right? So this bill is very important for the accountability and also independence of the tribunals as stated by the Supreme Court in the Madras Bar Association judgment, and that is why this bill is very important. Question can be asked directly. We have discussed various facets of the tribunals, what are the tribunals, how they evolved in India, also what was the problems with the 2021 Act, and what was the direction of the Supreme Court, and what are the new provisions in the bill, right? Now we'll see the significance of this bill, right? The first significance is judicial independence. So it aligns tribunals operation with the Supreme Court directive regarding the separation of powers. This is the one thing, because executive was selecting the members, and that is why there was problem. So now there will be judicial majority, then independent oversight. So it will create the NTC to autonomously manage the administration and discipline across 16 different tribunals. Then there is transparent selection. So in trust, candidate assessment to judicially led search cum selection committee, reducing the political bias. Then there will be timely appointments. It mandates the central government to finalize the tribunal appointments within the 3 months of receiving the recommendations. This is very important. And then finally, digital accountability. So it implements the national tribunal data grid for the centralized tracking of the case information and institutional performance. So this is the significance of this bill. Please remember that this is very important. Also, there is provision of the secretariat of the national tribunal, right? So there will be a secretariat, and this secretariat will have the secretary. So National Tribunal Commission will have the secretariat and other staff, and it will also have the secretary appointed by the central government. So this is also very important. Then please see this search and selection committee. So search and selection committee will have the more members. So there will be 2 experts also there. There will be a secretary. Also there will be another secretary appointed by the central government. There will be a CJI appointed judge and other members. So that is why this bill is very important for the independence of the tribunals. I hope it is clear to you. Now we'll see the previous year question asked regarding it. See, National Green Tribunal Act 2010 was enacted in consonance with which of the following provisions of the Constitution of India? This was asked in 2012. Right to healthy environment construed as the part of the right to life under the Article 21. Provisions of the grant for raising the level of administration in the scheduled areas for the welfare of scheduled tribes under the Article 275 subclause 1. This is not correct. Powers and function of the Gram Sabha as mentioned under the Article 243A. This is also not correct. Answer is only 1. Right? Now see this question. Comment on the need of administrative tribunals as compared to the court system. Assess the impact of the recent tribunal reforms through the rationalization of tribunals made in 2021. So question was already asked regarding this act of 2021. Now the question can be asked regarding this new bill which will be enacted in some time. So please remember these facts. Also please remember that tribunals are actually helping to reduce the case load. In India right now there are around 5 crore cases pending in Supreme Court, High Court and lower judiciary, and this tribunal can help to reduce the case load. In these 5 crore cases, almost 9% cases, which means around 40 to 50 lakh cases are more than 10 year or older and they are still pending. So these are the some of the facts which are very worrisome. Then there are around 27% cases which are more than 5 year or older, and that is why tribunals are very important to reduce the case load. Then it will have the efficiency in the administration because they will give the judgment very effectively and fast because they have expert in these specific fields. For example, industrial dispute, so there will be having the expert of those areas and also the acts of those particular acts, and that is why the judgment will be more faster and there will be more agreed verdict. Also, if a aggrieved party will not satisfied or is not satisfied with the judgment, they can always go to the High Court or Supreme Court in their appeal, and so that option is also available with them. This is all about the tribunals bill. Now we'll see the next main news of this week. So next main news of this week is regarding NASA have invited ISRO to join its moon-based program under the Artemis Accord, and this topic is very important for GS paper 3, that is space technology. And please write down which was the mission by the NASA and ISRO in 2025, which was very important for the collaboration between the NASA and ISRO, and which was the satellite's name and what was its purpose in the comment section. So let us see what is the development and why it is significant. So as we already discussed, moon base is the humanity's first lunar outpost, providing an enduring human presence on moon to unlock new scientific discoveries and prepare for the future deep space exploration, right? So that is why this program is very important. We'll see various treaties for the outer space in the upcoming discussion. Before that, we'll see what is this NASA's moon base program. So what is the location of this moon base program of the NASA? So it will be near the lunar south pole, and India also had the mission to land its rover near the south pole. Please give the name of that mission and the also the lander which was landed on the moon by the ISRO. So you have to give this the name of that lander, right? So the region offers the unique scientific value and potential to support the long-term exploration despite having the challenging lighting and thermal environment along the rugged terrain. So why it have the scientific value and potential? Because in this area there is evidence of having the water, and this water is very important. Firstly, it will have the source of drinking water. Then it will be a source of oxygen, and it will be source of liquid hydrogen, and liquid hydrogen is very important as the rocket fuel. In cryogenic technology, they use oxygen and liquid fuel, and this liquid hydrogen as a fuel, and liquid hydrogen as a fuel can be helpful in the cryogenic technology to propulsion of the rockets, right? And that is why H2O discovery is very important, and there are various craters in the surface of the moon in the south region, and they are some of the regions are always in the dark space, and that is why it is very important to have the area for the moon base. Also, in some of the area there is horizon, and beyond that horizon there will be sunlight for the 24 hours, and because there will be sunlight for 24 hours, so solar energy can be available for the 24 hours, and that is why this area in the south near the south pole is very important for the moon base, right? I hope it is clear to you. Now we'll see the various phases of this program. In the phase 1, which will be in the from today to 2029, the robotic missions will explore the lunar south pole and demonstrate the new technologies. Then in phase 2, that will be from 2029 till 2032, NASA will begin deploying the first infrastructure needed to support the long-term operations on the moon, such as small nuclear power plants or the solar energy exploration, and then there will be a human-like environment in the enclosed spaces. So that will be in the second phase. Then there will be phase 3 that will start from the 2032 and beyond, and it will incorporate habitats, power systems, then communications, then transportation and other critical capabilities for an enduring human presence near the moon's south pole. So how there will be a communication and transportation? So there will be relay of satellites, and because this relay of satellites, the communication will be faster as compared to now, and there will be swift communication from the earth to moon, right? So these are the some of the features of the NASA's moon base program. Now we'll see the Artemis Accord. And what is this Artemis Accord and what is its nature? So it is grounded on the Outer Space Treaty, and this Outer Space Treaty was signed in 1967. The Artemis Accord are non-binding state of principle designed to guide civil space exploration and use. So you might have heard about some of the people talking about they have purchased the land on the moon, and they have these certificates, and they show, and they will have these certificates on their walls. But can you purchase the land on the moon or any other outer space or object? So answer is no. And why answer is no? It is because this Outer Space Treaty of 1967. So what this treaty says? This treaty have the two important provisions. Firstly, no use of weapons of mass destruction in the space. This is the one provision, very important, that you cannot use the weapons of mass destruction in the outer space. This is the one thing. Then second thing, there cannot be having the sovereignty of any nation on the outer space object or bodies. And that is why those people who are saying that they have the purchase agreement, this is not true. Their money is wasted and it is total scam. So please remember that this is very important, and the Outer Space Treaty, and this treaty is by the United Nations Office of Outer Space Affairs. So this is the organization which actually have this treaty, and please remember that this treaty is very important. This was the first treaty which was signed by the various countries for the cooperation in the outer space. Then there is rescue agreement. It was also in 1969, and it was for the rescue of the various astronauts from the outer space. Then there is liability convention. This is 68. Then there is liability convention. So there are various objects in the space, and that is causing threat to the environment and also humanity. So there is around 130 million various objects in the outer space released by the human, and this is causing various threat to the environment and also to the human and other important infrastructure by the humans, such as International Space Station and all those things. And that is why there is liability convention, and this liability convention will hold accountable to the nation for its debris in the outer space. Then there is registration agreement. So any satellite or any object released in the outer space have to be registered in the international convention, and then there is moon agreement, right? So these are the 5 important agreements for the outer space. This is first, then second, third, fourth and fifth, and India have signed all these 5 agreements, but it have not ratified Moon Agreement. Please remember that India have not ratified the Moon Agreement. So this is important fact. Now we'll see about the Artemis Accord. Who is leading the Artemis Accord? So United States by the Department of State and NASA. Then what is the genesis of the Artemis Accord? It was launched on October 13, 2020 with Australia, Canada, Italy, Japan, Luxembourg and United Arab Emirates, the United Kingdom and the United States. Right? As of July 2026, there are 70 signatories and India is also signatory to the Artemis Accord. And what are the key principles of this accord? So peaceful use, transparency, interoperability, release of the scientific data, protection of space resources, deconfliction of the activities, etc. Right? So this is about the Artemis Accord. Now we'll see the previous year question asked regarding it. Please see this question. Consider the following statement regarding the Mangalyaan, which was launched by the ISRO. This question was asked in 2016. So Mangalyaan is also called as the Mars Orbiter mission. It made India the second country to have the spacecraft orbit the Mars after the USA. Then made India the only country to successful making its spacecraft orbit the Mars in its very first attempt. So what is the correct answer? The answer is 1 and 3 only. Right? So this is about this answer. Now you have to tell that it made India the second country to have the spacecraft orbit the Mars after the USA. So this statement is wrong. So why it is wrong? Which are the other countries which also sent their mission to moon? Right? You have to give that answer in the comment section. Please see this question and you have to write the answer in the comment section. What is the Galileo project? And you have to write the answer in the comment section. Please see this question. Discuss India's achievements in the field of space science and technology. How the application of this technology has helped India in socio-economic development. So here you have to tell the various achievements of the ISRO in the space science. So please give the various achievements and then tell how it is helpful in the socio-economic development. For example, in agriculture, in the weather forecasting, their resources mapping, then communication, then transmission of the various things. Then it is also helpful in the defense. It is also helpful in the navigation. All those points you can state in this thing, and various programs of the ISRO and its significance in the various technologies. So here you can talk about Gaganyaan, then you can talk about various missions such as Chandrayaan, Mangalyaan, all those things you can state here. So try to write answer in your home for the practice, right? So this is all about this main news. So the third main news of the day is National Cooperative Development Corporation NCDC Amendment Bill 2026, and this topic is very important for GS paper 2, that is government policies and laws, right? So the development is that government have passed this bill, and this bill seeks to amend the National Cooperative Development Corporation Act 1962. So before we see what is this bill and what are the various provisions and its significance, let us first see what is the cooperatives. So what is the cooperatives? So cooperatives are generally autonomous association. So it is autonomous association. How? Voluntarily. So it is the autonomous association which is on the basis of voluntarily for socio-economic, cultural aspirations, right? So socio-economic, cultural aspirations through joint membership and democratic processes, right? And democratic processes enterprises. So cooperatives are autonomous association which is voluntary, and its purpose is to socio-economic cultural aspirations of its members, and it is through joint membership and the democratic processes association. This is very important. So please remember that this definition was adopted in 1995 International Cooperation Congress, and this International Cooperation Congress was in UK in 1995, and it was the 100th year of the Congress, and they adopted this definition in 1995, and that is why this is very important definition. When you are writing the answer, please write down the definition. In bracket you can also write that International Cooperation Congress gave this definition, right? So this is the one thing. Then there are 5 principles. There are 5 principles upon which the cooperatives actually function. The first is self-help, then self-responsibility, right? So first is self-help. So these cooperatives are actually on the principle of self-help of the members to each other. Then there is principle of self-responsibility. So the member will have the self responsibility. Then there is democracy, then equality, and then solidarity. So these are the 5 principles on which they actually function. So the self-help, self-responsibility, then democracy, then equality, and then solidarity. And there are 3 concepts. What are the 3 concepts under which the cooperatives actually function? The first is user owned. So the first concept is user owned, then user controlled, and user benefited. So these are the 3 concepts under which the cooperatives function: user owned, user control, and user benefited, and the 5 principles. So this is the background of the cooperatives. What are the various cooperatives and how they are actually functioning, right? Now we'll see how cooperatives actually evolve in India with the time, right? So the first cooperatives policy which was enacted in India in 1904, right? So the first cooperative policy in India was in 1904, that is Cooperative Credit Societies Act. And Their Governor General was Lord Curzon. So please remember that in 1904, the Cooperative Credit Societies Act actually gave the formal recognition to the various cooperatives in India. Then there was McLagan Committee. So this committee was in 1915, and its purpose of this committee was to see how the cooperatives are functioning in India and give the various recommendation to strengthen the cooperatives in India. Then Mahatma Gandhiji also emphasized on the cooperatives, right? They have the concept of Tolstoy farms. It was on the concept of the cooperatives only, right? So this is the Mahatma Gandhiji's concept. Then in first 5-year plan, there was emphasis on the cooperatives for the collective development under the block development and the other programs. So then there was also this cooperatives, and then there was Cooperative Development Corporation Act of 1962, which is amended by now. Then there was Multi-State Cooperative Societies Act. Cooperative Societies Act, which was passed in 2002, which was again amended, but firstly it was passed in 2002. And then 97th Constitution Amendment Act, right? So 97th Constitution Amendment Act, which gave the constitutional status to the cooperative societies, right? This was passed in 2011, and it gave the recognition of the cooperatives under the Article 19 subclause C. Also it gave the recognition to the cooperatives in the DPSPs also, right? So in DPSP Article 43B talks about the management of cooperatives and the participation of workers in the management, right? So that is in the DPSP 43B, and also Article 243, right? So Article 243 was also amended, and ZS to ZT was inserted in the Article 243, and it also have the provisions regarding the cooperative and their function. So this is the evolution of the cooperatives in India. It is very important. Please remember these facts, how the cooperatives actually evolve in India over the period of time, right? I hope it is clear to you. Now we will see this new bill, its provisions, and what is the significance. The first area where this bill is talking about is mandate. So the mandate has been widened. Previously, NCDC financed program in the specific sector and commodities. Now it expands the mandate to promote and finance cooperative development directly or through the intermediaries also. This is the one thing. Then what are the foodstuffs that are covered? Previously, it included items such as milk, meat, eggs, and vegetables. Now, this bill adds processed food, other edible products, and notified food items also in these provisions. Then there are provisions related to industrial goods. So it covered specific cooperatives and the allied industries located in the rural areas only. So it had limited its scope to the rural areas, but this limit have been now removed, and now it will cover the industries in the urban areas or semi-urban areas also, right? Then regarding the loans and the grants, so direct assistance legally limited to the national and multi-state cooperatives, but Now it extends assistance to eligible cooperatives and entities engaged in cooperative development, including at the state level also. Right. So previously it was only restricted to national and multi-state. Now the state cooperatives also, and then there is provision of equity participation limited to the national and multi-state cooperatives. Now it permits the investment in the state level cooperatives and eligible entities with central government approval. So these are the some of the provisions. The scope, mandate have been increased. Right? I hope it is clear to you. Now we'll see the need of this bill. What is the need of this bill? So firstly, expanding the cooperative sector. As we already see, it have expanded the scope. Then there is limited funding scope. So the scope of the funding have been also expanded in this new bill. Then it supports the allied entities also, such as food processing. Then greater institutional flexibility to broaden the NCDC's mandate and strengthen its ability to support the cooperatives development through the diverse institutional channels, and it also now covers the state level cooperatives. Right? I hope it is clear to you. Now we'll see the previous year question regarding this. Please see this question. With reference to the urban cooperative banks in India, consider the following statement. They are supervised and regulated by the local boards set up by the state governments. Not correct. They can issue equity shares and preference shares. They were brought under the purview of the Banking Regulations Act of 1949 through the amendment in 1966. So statement second and third is correct. So answer is B, 2 and 3 only. Right? I hope it is clear to you. Now we'll see the next main news. Before that, please see these two questions and try to give the answer in the comment section regarding this question, and try to write the answer of this question at home. Right? Now we'll see the next main news of the day. The next main news of this week is the Madhya Pradesh have planning to restart the excavation of the Vaishya Tekri site in the Ujjain. We'll see why it is important, what is there in the Vaishya Tekri site. And this is very important for GS paper 1, that is Indian history and culture. Right? So the development is that the huge Maurya era Buddhist stupa was partially excavated in 1938-39, and the structure could be larger than the great stupa at Sanchi. So there is stupa at Vaishya Tekri, and it can be larger than the Sanchi stupa. This is very important, and it is centrally protected archaeological site under the Archaeological Survey of India, and that is why this development is very important. Right? Now we'll see regarding the stupas. What are these stupas and what are their significance? So stupa was originally a mound containing the relics of the Buddha, his bodily remains, or the object associated with him. The tradition of building stupas may have been pre-Buddhist. So please remember that this is very important. It is not the Buddhist concept. The stupa may be pre-Buddhist, but it was popularized in the Buddhist religion. Right? According to the Ashok Vadna or Ashoka distributed portions of the Buddha's relics to the important towns and the order stupas to be constructed over them. So it is said that around 84,000 stupas were constructed by the Buddha from taking the relics of the Buddha, which was there in the 8 towns of the time, and there was 84,000 stupas all over the India for the propagation of Buddhism. So this is very important. Now we'll see the component of the stupa. The question can be asked. Please try to draw the diagram when question is asked. We have given the structure of the stupa. You can draw the diagram of the stupa for giving the idea and elaboration. So this is very important. When the question is asked, you have to draw the diagram for the understanding of the examiner and please give the various titles to the various part of this stupa. We'll see which are the various part and what is the significance of those parts. Firstly, anda. So hemispherical mound evolved from the original earth mound. So this is the anda, hemispherical mound of this stupa. Then there is harmika, and harmika is balcony like structure above the anda, represented abode of the gods. So this is the harmika, right? It is the above the anda. Then there is yasti. So this is the pole rising from the harmika. So this is the yasti. This is the pole like structure. And what is the chhatri? As we already know, it is umbrella like structure over the yasti, right? Then there is vedika or the railing. And what is the vedika? Separated sacred space from the secular world. So these are the vedikas, right? Then there are tornas. So tornas are obviously, you know, gateway, often richly carved. So these are the tornas. And then there is pradakshina path. Pradakshina path is circumstatory path around the stupa. So this is the pradakshina path, and person can roam around or take the pradakshina around this anda, right? So this is the component of stupa, and the relics are under this anda, right? So this is very important. Now we'll see the various types of stupas. So there are various types of stupas, and firstly there is relic stupa. As we already discussed, it contains the relic remains of the Buddha, Buddha's disciple or the saints, right? The first, for example, it was the Piprahava stupa in Uttar Pradesh, right? Then object stupa, as the name suggests, it preserves the sacred object associated with the Buddha, Buddhist teachers, monks, right? So Kesariya stupa in Bihar is the object stupa. Then there is commemorative stupa. What is the commemorative stupa? So commemorative event or the places in the Buddha's life, right? So such as Dharmarajika stupa at Sarnath, Ashokan stupa at Bodh Gaya, such stupas. And then symbolic stupa. Symbolic stupa symbolizes the Buddha and his Dhamma with the or without the relics. And then there are votive stupa, small stupas built by the pilgrims or the devotees at important Buddhist centers. So these are the various important examples or the types of the stupa. There are these 5 types of stupas, right? I hope it is clear to you. Now we'll see the previous year question asked regarding this stupa. Please see this question of the 2023. With reference to the ancient India, consider the following statement. The concept of stupa in Buddhist origin, as we already seen, it may not be the Buddhist origin, it may be older than the Buddhist origin. Stupa was generally a repository of relics. Yes, true. Buddha stupa was a votive and commemorative structure in the Buddhist tradition. It is also correct. So the answer is only 2 are correct. The first statement is not correct, right? Then see this question. What teachings of Buddha are most relevant today and why? And early Buddhist stupa art, while depicting the folk motive and the narratives, successfully expound the Buddhist ideals illustrated. So how Buddha's teaching are helpful today? So people are very extreme nowadays. So Buddha is talking about the Madhyam Marga. This is the one thing. Then non-violence is very important. Then it is also talking about the anti-caste things. So it is also important for the equality in the society also. So such things you can write in your answer, and please try to write this answer also for your practice, right? This is about the 4th main news. Now we'll see the last main news of this week. The last main news of this week is regarding the Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Amendment Bill 2026, and this is very important for GS paper 2, that is government policies, and GS paper 3, that is changes in the industrial policy, right? So we'll see what are the significance of this bill and why this amendment was necessary, right? As we already seen, the parliament have passed this bill, and this bill seeks to amend the MMRD Act of 1957 to restrict states' mineral taxation powers and ensure fiscal uniformity of the mineral sector. So state used to impose some of the taxes, and that is why it used to create ambiguity and also hamper the development of the mines and mineral sectors in India. And that is why this act is very important. MMRD Act 1957 allows central government to regulate major minerals, coal, iron, ore and bauxite or such minerals, while the minor minerals such as building stones, gravels, ordinary clay, sand, etc. are regulated by the state governments, right? So the major and minor minerals are basically not on their size, but the major minerals are the minerals which are controlled by the central, and the minor minerals are the minerals which are actually controlled by the state according to the MMRD MMDR Act of 1957, right? Now we'll see the various important provisions of this bill. The first provision is that mineral bearing lands. So central government will be the empowered to regulate mineral bearing land. For example, any land having the mineral contents in accordance with the parameters prescribed by the central government. Then new section 9D, and what is it saying? It prohibits state from imposing any tax, cess or other such levy on mineral rights or mineral bearing lands, whether based on the mineral quantity, mineral value, royalty or otherwise, except in accordance with the condition or restrictions prescribed by the center. Then there will be past levies, and regarding past levies, unpaid unrecovered state levies imposed before the amendment will be deemed invalid. However, amount already deposited recovered will not be refunded. And then rule making powers, section 13 is talking about it. So central government will prescribe the condition or restriction for imposing the tax, cess and such other levy by the state governments. And it is because there should be uniformity of the taxation at the state level also, and it will help to have the uniform policy across the nation, and there will be the development of the minerals and mine sectors in India, and that is why this was very important. So there are various mineral rich states such as Jharkhand, then Chhattisgarh, then Odisha. So they always have the conflict with the central government regarding these taxes on these lands, and that is why this bill was there, and there will be this new act which will amend the Act of 1957, right? So we'll see the constitutional provisions regarding this. So there is entry 54 of the Union List, and it talks about empowerment of parliament to regulate mines and minerals development in public interest. Then there is entry 23 in the state list. It is talking about state regulatory powers subject to the union control. So there will be always upper hand of the central here, and state can tax mineral rights, entry 50, subject to parliamentary limitations, and mineral bearing lands, entry 49. And under this, central have restricted some of the restrictions on the taxation of the states. Then there will be royalty, which is not tax. It is payment for enjoying the mineral rights as held in Mineral Area Development Authority versus Steel Authority of India. judgment of 2024, right? Now we'll see the need of this amendment, as we already discussed about the need, but we'll see it again. High and uneven tax burden. So cascading and varying state levies increase the extraction cost, hurt small and medium scale mining operators, and made some mining operation unviable. That is the one thing. Then business investor uncertainty, unpredictable and retrospective taxation disputed operation discourage investment and weaken the investor confidence. Then inflationary impact, higher mineral extraction cost increase the production cost and consumer prices. And then last, lack of fiscal uniformity, wide interest-rate variation in the taxes created an uneven mining landscape. So this is the need of the amendment, as we have already discussed about it while we were discussing the provisions, right? Please see this question. With reference to the management of minor minerals in India, consider the following statement. Sand is the minor mineral according to the prevailing law in the country. We have already discussed is that sand is indeed a minor mineral, and that is why this statement is correct, right? Then see the statement. State governments have the power to grant mining leases for the minor minerals, but powers regarding the formation of the rules related to grant of minor minerals lie with the central government. It is not true, right? It is also lies with the state. Sorry. Then see this third statement. State governments have the power to frame the rules to prevent illegal mining of minor minerals. So it is also true that state government have such power to frame the rules to prevent the illegal mining for the minor minerals, right? So the second statement is not correct, and that is why answer is 1 and 3 only, right? So I hope it is clear to you. Now please see these two questions and try to write the answer in the comment section regarding the district mineral foundation in India and related to rare earth metals. So please write down the answer of these two questions in the comment section. Now we'll see the next news of this week, and we'll see the place in news. This week's place in news is Lebanon, which capital is Beirut, right? So this is the Lebanon and its capital is Beirut. Now we'll see the political picture. Here is the location of the Lebanon. So it is in the Levant region of the West Asia. Then what is the bordering countries? So bordering countries is Syria in the north and east. North and east it is Syria, and Israel in the south. So Israel in the south, and north and east it is Syria. And there is also Mediterranean Sea in the west, right? So this is the Lebanon. What is the Levant region? So Levant is a French word which means the rising sun. So for the Europe, it is like the area where the sun is rising, and that is why it is the Levant region of the West Asia. It is the rising sun area for the Europe, right? Now we'll see the bordering water bodies. I have already discussed that the Mediterranean Sea in the west is the water body. Then what is the geographical features? So highest peak is Kurnet Al Sauda. Then major valley is Bekka or Al Bikka. And what are the major rivers? Litani, Orontes and Baalbek. And major mountains is Lebanon mountains, Jabal, Lubnan, and then Hermon ranges. Please remember that this Litani river was in news, right? So there is Tyre city on this Litani river, and this Litani river and Tyre city was in news because Israel attacked Lebanon and in this area, right? Also, Tyre city is very important because it have important UNESCO World Heritage site, and that is why Litani River and Tyre was in news. Please remember that the question can be asked regarding it. Now we'll see the quick updates of this week. The first quick update is Article 3 of the Indian Constitution. What is the development? So development is that Parliament have passed the Kerala alteration of the name bill of 2026, which seeks to change the name Kerala to Keralam in the constitution, and the parliament may by the law alter the name, area or boundaries of the existing state or form the new state under the Article 3. What is the Article 2? So Article 2 is also looks similar, but it is not regarding the Indian area. So it is talking about the area which is not part of the India but is becoming the part of India. That is the difference. Then what is the procedure? So firstly, president recommendation is important. Then the reference to the state legislature is given, or the reference to the state legislature, and then state legislature may give its opinion, but that is not bounding on the parliament, and then parliament will pass that bill, and then president will give the assent, then this bill will become the law. So here the state legislature's recommendation is not very important in this process. What are the key provisions? A bill can be introduced in the either house of the parliament only on the recommendation of the president. So president's recommendation is mandatory here. If the proposal affects the state name, area or the boundaries, the president refer the bill to the concerned state legislature to express its view. The views of the state legislature are not binding on the parliament. So they can accept those views or even reject those views, but that does not affect the bill, right? So this is the key provision. Now we'll see the next quick update. Next quick update is Lake Mead. What is the development? So Lake Mead in US has fallen to its lowest water level since it was filled nearly 90 years ago, and that is why it is becoming very important. What is the information about this Lake Mead? So it is located in the Mojave Desert region. Please remember, Mojave Desert is very important. It is situated in USA, and this Lake Mead is the largest reservoir in the US by the water storage capacity. This is the second important point. Then it was formed. So it is the artificial reservoir created in 1930s by the Hoover Dam on the Colorado River. So this is on the Colorado River, and this is the artificial lake, and the Colorado River forms the part of the international boundary between the United States and the Mexico. That is the important part. So this is about the Lake Mead. Now we'll see the third quick update of this week. And the third quick update of this week is the Bhopal Declaration. What is this Bhopal Declaration is all about? So 11th BRICS Cultural Ministers meeting in the Bhopal concluded with the adoption of the Bhopal Declaration. What is the various provision in the Bhopal Declaration? It provides the framework for the strengthening the cultural cooperation among the BRICS member and partners. Also announced the cooperation in creative industries, UNESCO multinational nominations, and restitution of the culture property, then traditional knowledge systems, protection of the creators' right, museums, libraries, etc. And it also announced a pilot initiative to develop voluntary artist registry to facilitate the cultural exchanges. So this is about the Bhopal Declaration. It is regarding the culture, right? So please remember that it was signed in the BRICS Cultural Ministerial, right? So next quick update is regarding the Rabs al Khali, right? As the name suggested, Khali means empty, right? So Oman and Saudi Arabia have signed the cross-border freight deal as an alternative to choke point like Strait of Hormuz. This deal utilizes the direct overland road through the Rab al Khali. So this is the one of the largest desert in the world, and this desert will be having the roll connectivity to bypass the Strait of Hormuz, right? So this is the development. Now we'll see about the Rab al Khali or the empty quarter. At its translation is, it is the world's largest continuous sand desert, stretching over 6,50,000 square kilometer. This is the very important fact. Please remember that. Located primarily in southeastern Saudi Arabia, and it is shared across the four countries: Saudi Arabia, then Oman, then Yemen, and then UAE also, right? And it is one of the earth driest place on the earth, receiving less than 3 centimeters of the annual rainfall, with summer temperature rising above the 50 degrees Celsius and dropping sharply at the night, at the even the freezing point of the water. Then Bedouin tribe are found in this desert. So Bedouin tribes are found in this desert. So please remember the name of the tribe. So this is about the quick update of the Rab al Khali. Now we'll see the next quick update. Next quick update is regarding the government program Navya, and what is its development. The government is strengthening the skill development and employability among the adolescent girls through the nurturing aspirations through vocational training for young adolescent girls Navya program. Please remember that such initiatives and names are asked by the UPSC, and that is why this scheme becomes very important. So this scheme was launched in 2025, so relatively new scheme, and it is the joint initiative of the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, MSD, and Ministry of Women and Child Development, and it will be implemented under the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana 4.0, right? So PM KVY 4.0, this Navya scheme will be implemented. What is the objective? Empowering the adolescent girls between the age of 16 to 18 years through industry relevant vocational training and career oriented skills, right? With on the job training OJT, right? What is the focus? Futuristic job roles along with the holistic development module, and it covers digital literacy, financial literacy, career readiness, and entrepreneurship orientation, and its expansion. So it is expanded to the 100 aspirational districts, right? So this is about the scheme Navya. Now we'll see the next quick update, and next quick update or the last quick update of this week is Voyager 2. What is the development? So NASA's Voyager 2 mission extended by an year. So its time have been extended by another 1 year. Now we'll see the this mission Voyager 2. So it is NASA's interplanetary spacecraft launched in 1977 to explore the outer solar system and the interstellar space. What is the interstellar space? Beyond the solar system, right? So what are the unique achievements of the Voyager 2? So only spacecraft to visit all 4 giant planets, that is Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, and the first spacecraft to fly by the Uranus and Neptune. So that is why this is very important. And what is the current status of the Voyager 2? So operating in the interstellar space beyond the heliopause. And what is the heliopause? Only such spacecraft after the Voyager 1 studying the outer boundary of the sun's influence. So heliopause is the outer boundary of the sun, from where the influence of the sun is reduced, and then interstellar space is starting, right? And so Voyager 1 was also there, but Voyager 2 is very important in that cause, and heliopause is the outer boundary of the heliosphere where the solar wind gives way to the interstellar space, as we already discussed, right? So this is all about this week's weekly roundup. I hope it is helpful to you. To read more about the current affair, you can visit our digital current affair portal, where you can read our monthly magazines. The June monthly magazine was recently released, so you can read that. Also, you can read our flagship programs such as PT 365, Mains 365, and you can also solve various quizzes and also suggest such articles to your friends. So there are a lot of options there on Vision Digital Current Affairs portal. So please visit there. I hope it is very helpful to you. Thank you and see you again.